She's a winner.
And welcome to the Intuitive Entrepreneur Show, where you take enlightened.
She's a winner.
And welcome to the Intuitive Entrepreneur Show, where you take enlightened entrepreneurs, coaches, and influencers together to discuss cutting-edge topics in the world of relationships, culture, business, and spirituality. And here's your host, Miss Carol Boston.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Intuitive Entrepreneur Show. It is an absolutely gorgeous day here in sunny South Florida. Look behind me. You'll see the breeze, the wind is blowing. And those of you who follow me know what? I'm your weather girl. So make sure when you chime in today in the chat, let me know where you're chiming in from and what the weather's like where you are. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go over here so I can see the comments. You guys know I love a dialogue and not a monologue. Did I tell you that I ran into some women? I was speaking at a conference not too long ago, and I ran into 3 women. I had never met them before. And they all came up and introduced themselves to me. And they said, hey, Carol, we watched your show. And I said, but I don't know you. You've never engaged with me. Oh, no, we just watch. Voyeurs, right? What's one of the things I teach my clients? Somebody's always watching. That's why we get to show up. I was coaching a client yesterday, and she was going to cancel the masterclass she was going to give because only 3 people were going to show up. Guess what? She's having that masterclass tomorrow. We get to remember that the right people are always in the room. And I've got a couple of great stories around that we can chat about that today. But for those of you who are chiming in today, like I said, let me know what the weather's like. How many of you, I know my good friend Stephanie Defarick-Licious, up in Hunter, North Carolina, barely missed getting clobbered by that hurricane. For those of you who are watching from overseas, we've had some terrific bad weather, and areas almost in the central part of our country that you would think, because they're not on the coastline, don't get really bad storms, got pounded by this hurricane. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are a couple of towns in the Big Bend of Florida that are decimated. I mean, there's just nothing left. When you've got 15 feet of storm surge out of the ocean, they had some houses that had water up to the rooftop. I mean, destroyed. And there were tornadoes. And so far, they're saying over 143 people have died, and there's still 500 that are missing because there's no cell phone service, there's no electricity, there's no gas, there's no water. So today we send our prayers up and send our blessings out to all those that are suffering. May they get immediate help in their time of need. And I was listening to them interview a man, and he happened to be a pastor of a church. And there was another hurricane that went through there, a little over less than 2 years ago, called Idalia. And they just finished rebuilding the church and had just gotten in it 3 days before. That'll test the mettle of even the strongest person, right? Guess what? They get to start over again. And I was listening to him talk, and he's like, I want to go, well, why, God? He said, we don't get to do that. Now, those of you who follow me know why is always disempowering, right? And God has nothing to defend, and neither do we. So we don't answer those questions. But how he said it was, he said, I wanted to say, why, God? We just rebuilt. He said, but we don't get to do that. We get to trust in the process, that there's a bigger plan and a greater plan. And maybe the very people that are going to help us put this church back together are the people that God has sent to us for us to pour their hearts as well and to help them. And I thought, wow, what an amazing attitude in a very, very difficult time. Now, a lot of people are getting scared. There's another storm, and it is brewing in the same place that one that just hit, Hurricane Helene just hit from, down in the southwest Gulf. But I just watched maybe 30 minutes ago. I took a break and I watched, and it looks like the models are showing it's going to curve and shoot straight across to Florida. So who knows? Maybe this time next week we'll be in a hurricane. You just never know, right? But we get to trust in the process. Trust in the process and take the next step. One of the things that really impacted me, listening to a gentleman named Jim Fortin, and his brother-in-law is a shaman, a very high, way up there, well-respected shaman for decades. I mean, the biggest and the best people go seek him out for his advice and his wisdom. And Jim said a few years ago, he goes, everything was going to crap in my life and I'm pissed off and blah, blah, blah. I'm worried about that and fearful of this and complaining. He said, my brother-in-law looked at me and he said, Jim, you may not like what I'm about to say, but I want you to hear me. Everything is, always has been, and will be fine. Jim said I was mad and I just looked at him, so he repeated it. He said, think about it, Jim. Everything is, always has been, and always will be fine. When we understand that we are a soul, we are a spirit in a bag of bones and skin right now, and that we have many experiences across eons of time. So wherever our soul and our spirit was before it came into this bag of bones, it's going to also go someplace else when it leaves, because the spirit doesn't die. How do we know that? Because the spirit is energy, and energy never dies, right? And there's always reciprocity of energy. So if we could live from that space, I want you to think about that. Ask yourself this question. Are you making decisions out of fear? Or are you making decisions from love? Right? From faith and trust, or from fear? And there's many of you who have heard me say this more than once, is that our faith and our fear is very similar, right? Causes you to believe in something you can't see and something that hasn't happened yet. Both of them. So our fear is our faith turned in the wrong direction, right? Think about it. We are, every human being, this is true for all of us, we are where our attention is. Do you ever think about what you're thinking about? It's powerful. I remember the first time I heard that decades ago from Joyce Myers. She's like, no, you get to think about what you're thinking about. She goes, yeah, sometimes thoughts come and we don't always control them. They just come. But we get to choose if we're going to focus on them and take action on them, right? What are we choosing? I think I made the title of this today. I can't see it. Is what you teach versus who you are. What you teach versus who you are. We teach what we know. We reproduce who we are. Think about it. Spoke to a multi-millionaire. That is not me yet. I'm not a multi-millionaire. But this multi-millionaire heard me speak and said, you can help me, I can learn from you. Now, 6 or 7 years ago, I would have gone, huh, what can I teach them? Because I wasn't thinking about the right things, right? 6, 7 years ago, it would have been all about the money. They're making more money than me. So what? I know stuff they don't know. Do they know stuff I don't know? Of course they do. Of course they do. But I'm saying this because there's so many clients I work with and coaches I work with who are fearful that they aren't good enough, don't know enough, haven't done enough, don't have enough certifications. Folks, write it down. You do not have to be certified to be qualified. Somebody put that in the chat for me. You do not have to be certified to be qualified, right? This person happens to be younger than me. I got a lot of years of experience on this person, right? They've just had a different channel to making money. Who are you here to serve? What are you teaching? Are you living out what you're teaching? I'll tell you right now, total transparency, some of my areas in my life, I'm not doing that, which is why I got into this program, because I have blind spots just like everybody else, right? I have blind spots. We all have blind spots. That's why we all get to have a good coach, right? I think in the description of the talk today, it was about what is your identity? Where'd you get it? Because we operate from an identity level, right? That's how we can know things and teach them and not be them, because we haven't done our deeper identity work, which is one of the most phenomenal things about this course, right? One of the things he teaches us is the master thought formula. How many of you would like to know the master thought formula? How many of us understand that I am not my thoughts? I am the thinker of my thoughts. What are we choosing? What are we choosing? One of the things he was talking about, and if I knew where it was in my notes, I would go get it and quote it exactly. But oftentimes, we don't know how to put the master thought formula into practice. So he teaches us the master thought formula. And one of the things we get to learn, to be able to learn the formula, is I am not my thoughts. I am the thinker of my thoughts. Therefore, we have more power. We have more control. What makes up story? How many? Come on. We all make up stories, don't we? Everything's a story. And we only see things as we are, not as they are. We all have lenses that we look through that are scarred from experience or clouded by what we were taught as a child that we trusted, that perhaps no longer serves us. Think about it. Put 5 people in the street corner, 5 people, and they all watch the same car wreck. How many of you think that when the cop comes up and interrogates all 5 of us or interviews us or whatever you call it, that we're all going to give the same story? We're not. Because we didn't see the wreck as it was. We saw the wreck as we are. The guy standing next to me tells the cop, it wasn't that big of a deal. Gives his description. Me, who's been through and in a very bad car wreck, 14 epidurals in my neck and my back over time to avoid surgery, tons of therapy and work. I'm telling the cop, that was a horrible wreck. Right? The other dude hasn't ever been in a car wreck. His lens that he's seeing through is different. What lens are you looking through in your life, in your business, in your relationship, in your conversations? And are you willing to own that perhaps your way isn't the only way? Would you be open to, when other people are giving their viewpoint, to come from a place of curiosity? That's interesting. We get to give ourselves that same grace, the grace of curiosity, and not beat ourselves up. Why did you do that? Why did I do that? I shouldn't have done that, blah, blah, blah. But we could ask the question from a place of curiosity. I wonder what inspired me to do that. I wonder what compelled me to take that action. If I had to do it over again, would I take that same action? Right? So we have all these stories. We do have all these stories, but we have all these thoughts that make up stories. So what if we learned the master story formula to create the most powerful and empowering stories in all areas of our lives? Who would like that? Put that in the comment for me. Say, I'd like that, Carol. By the way, I just told my trusted virtual assistant, who is amazing, that it's time for me to have a conversation with owner of this platform and change the title of this podcast and start promoting it and get people engaged and learning. Aruba, put it in the comments for me. Would you like to hear the master story formula? I mean, as long as we're all creating, making up stories anyway, we might as well have a master formula to make up the most empowering stories that would serve us and not tear us down. And if you're watching this on #replay, let me know. So I got my cool, watch this, ready. I got my cool click-on glasses. Who's got some click-it readers? The master story formula. You get to ask yourself this when you're creating the story, when you're creating your future. Who would I be? How would I feel? And what would I do if I already had blank? We've talked about be, do, have leadership. It's not what do I get to do so I can have everything I say I want. Most people say, how much can I have and what do I got to do to get it? That isn't how it works. It's who am I being so that I can do what I get to do, so I can say what I have I want. Because being is at the identity level. It's not at the surface level. It's not at the level of things that are outside of us. So when you have this master story formula, who would I be? How would I feel? And what would I do if I already had blank? Put your dream in there, whether it's for your business, your goal, your life, your relationship, and then craft a story around that. If I already had it, and then say, it is done. It is done. Who do I get to be? Oftentimes, for most of us, actually, when you listen to Jim, it's all of us, right? Who we're being, which does what? Drives our behaviors, is not always in alignment with our values. And when we're not in alignment with our thoughts and behaviors, with our values, everything goes askew. But we don't stop to ask ourselves, wait a minute, who am I being? Right? And oftentimes we get to look at different ways of being that will serve us in different areas of our life. Those of you who know me know I have a powerful contract that I keep with myself. The contract is I'm a powerful, courageous, loving leader. Those are my 3 ways of being as a leader: powerful, courageous, and loving. Do I always feel courageous? I do not. Things come up and I'm like, oh, I'm not sure I want to step out of my comfort zone and do that, right? Who's with me? Say Yana. You're not alone, Carol. But then I look at my contract and I'm like, ooh, I get to remind myself that I'm courageous. What does that do for me? It allows me to get into action. Small, bite-sized, digestible, doable actions that I then celebrate. Judge the actions. I don't judge the result. Because we can't be attached to the outcome. That's what causes most of our pain in our lives, is we're attached to the outcome. And when we're attached to the outcome, we've already decided what the outcome gets to be. And what did we just do? We just narrowed and limited all the possibilities for a solution. That's why I love teaching and training on empowering questions. They open the door to limitless possibilities. Limitless possibilities. Who are you being? I hope I get lots of feedback. Hope is not a strategy. I'm asking for feedback. Put it in the comments. Love to know your thoughts. And if you got any ideas or thoughts that you would like to see in the new show, let me know, because it's coming. We're going to read from Iyanla Vanzant's book today. And as you know, those of you who follow me, each month has a different theme. We're in a new month, day 2, October. The theme of this month is worth. She says, what you tell yourself you are, you will be. We just talked about that, didn't we? What you allow yourself to be reflects what you have told yourself that you are. What are you telling yourself? Guess what? You believe what you tell yourself. You do. I was listening to somebody the other day, they said, I am so stupid. I said, why in the world would you claim that? What would make you say that? Do you really think that? Let's hear what she has to say. I will realize my own worth when I accept conditions and circumstances cannot confine me and do not define me. Do not confuse the conditions in your life with the truth about you. Conditions may be influential, but they are not immutable. Conditions can and do change. Circumstances may have an effect, but they are not the deciding factors in your life. Do not allow what is going on around you to determine what comes through you. Do not allow yourself to believe that what happens to you can in any way alter the truth about you. Something ever happened to you and you thought that was a bad thing, and you thought, ugh, I must deserve this. What did I do to deserve this? Assuming that you did something. You are not what happens to you. You are how you handle what happens to you. In other words, it's your response. And here's the thing, folks. The challenge isn't our circumstances. Our biggest challenge is how we interpret. It's our interpretation of the circumstances. If you're into all black and white thinking, right or wrong, good or bad, life's got a lot of challenges. But if it's okay that there's a lot of gray, if it's okay that you just get to get curious about life, because we get fearful and we get demanding about things that we can't even control. But we can control what? How we respond. You are not bound to or stopped by any condition or circumstance that may confront you. You are the boundless, unlimited, unstoppable power and energy of who you believe that you are. Beyond that, nothing really matters unless you let it. Powerful statement. Nothing matters. Nothing in this whole world means anything except that which you give it. We could talk more about that, but go back and watch one of my past shows. Until today, you may have believed that environment, conditions, circumstances, or situations could alter, determine, or change your identity just for today. Examine what you believe about where you are in your life to see if what you believe is in fact coming true. Today, I am devoted to eliminating the confining and limiting beliefs about myself and my life. Are you even aware of the limiting beliefs that you have? One of the ones I had 7 years ago when I started this business was, nobody in my family's ever owned their own business. Who am I to own my own business? I can't do this. Trust me, I wanted to run back to the safety of a corporate job, right? That was my comfort zone. That was what I knew. But that doesn't mean that's who I was created to be for my entire life, right? Because we get to grow and we get to change and we get to nurture that and share that with others. Who are you being? And are you willing to ask yourself that question? Our group coaching call yesterday, one of the ladies was talking about her relationship with her husband, and she was getting angry. You know, he'd always leave his clothes on the floor and wouldn't pick them up and didn't do this. And she felt like she was doing everything and he wasn't doing anything and blah, 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 right? So the coach asked her, what are you really angry about? I'm just mad. No, anger is a cover-up, folks. Anger is a secondary emotion. It's not a primary emotion. There is always something underneath the anger if you're willing to ask the questions. And believe it or not, you'd be surprised at how often the person who's super angry and might be lashing out at you is really angry, mad at themselves. And they don't want to own it. They don't want to look at it. They don't want to acknowledge their behavior. So they lash out at you or me or somebody else. Jim said one of the most powerful things we can do when someone is really, really, really angry is just stop and say, what do you need from me right now in this moment? Because that anger is about guilt, shame, frustration, fear, right? There's 7 things under anger, 7 different emotions that are described under the cover-up of anger. And perhaps the other person just, maybe they feel like you're not listening to them. They don't feel heard. Doesn't have to be about who's right. It's about who are you being? Who are you being in the moment, in that situation? Are you being in integrity, right? Are you living into your highest values? These are things we get to ask ourselves. Not everybody wants to do it, folks. But if you're ready to go on an amazing ride and change your life, if you're ready to crack your code and reframe your life because you have the power to do that, then keep following me here. If you're ready to crack your code now, put it in the hashtag replay in the comments or send me a private message on Facebook. You can DM me on Facebook. You can DM me on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. I don't spend a lot of time there, to be candid. More so on LinkedIn and Facebook. Reach out. You can even email me, carol@carolboston.com, and say, I'm ready to crack my code. I'm ready to reframe my life. I would love to be the one to help you do that because you were destined for greatness. We're going to wrap it up a couple of minutes early here today. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate your feedback. I look forward to awesome engagement going forward in the future. And if you're ready to make the 4th quarter the best quarter of this year, and you don't have a good coach, you get to have a good coach. Remember, folks, we all have blind spots. And so often we keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting to get a different result. We're not even clear on what the challenge is. Clarity is power. You can book a clarity to cash call with me. You'd be amazed. My name is Carol Boston. This has been the Intuitive Entrepreneur Show. Come back next week. We'll be here in sunny South Florida again. And get ready as we start to move and progress towards promoting a brand new show that's going to help you crack your code and reframe your life. Blessings. Go in peace. And prayers up. Help me lift up prayers and send love and light to all those that have been hurt by the hurricane. Go in peace, my friends. Make it a great week.
Thank you for listening to the Intuitive Entrepreneur Show, brought to you by Life Coaching Today magazine, empowering your health, your business, your community, your life. Check out the latest issue today at lifecoachingtoday.com. Everyone here at the True Awesome Network asks you to please subscribe, like, comment, and spread awesome.